The race to replace Senator Jeff Bingaman is shaping up to be the most expensive race ever in New Mexico. One of the three major candidates has a huge advantage. She has all her party's money to herself. News 13's Katie Kim is in the Newsplex.
Jessica, Republican Heather Wilson is in the clear and looking ahead to November. But the two men vying for the Democratic nomination have to compete with each other first. Remember this?
Name me one piece of legislation.
Are you going to give me some time now?
The 2008 Senate race between Tom Udall and Steve Pearce was contentious and costly. $15 million spent. This year's race is expected to cost more.
This is a highly competitive race.
Former Congresswoman Heather Wilson has the Republican nomination in the bag. Her camp announced today she's raised $760 grand in the last 3 months. Lieutenant Governor John Sanchez did her a big favor, bowing out of the race a couple of months ago, saying he didn't want to divide the Republican Party. That helped Wilson come up big in the money game.
It had an effect because there was no longer a competitive race, so to speak.
But that's not the case for the Democratic frontrunner, Congressman Martin Heinrich. He raised almost 500 grand in the last 3 months. But he has an opponent in the June primary, State Auditor Hector Balderas. Balderas won't say how much he's collected so far this year, but we know he raised $750,000 last year. So it's safe to say he's pulled in some pretty serious cash. And Politico Joe Monahan says some of that cash could have gone to Heinrich. And it's not just the competition over Democrats' dollars.
If these two candidates start attacking one another and sparring, the Republicans would just love that, and Heather Wilson could sit back and say, geez, this is a good show.
And a recent poll shows Wilson and Heinrich in a tight race.
Now that Wilson is so close to Heinrich, you'll probably hear some grumbling about, come on, Hector, you're holding back Heinrich.
We asked the Democratic Party if they're worried that Heinrich has to compete with Balderas when he could be focusing on Wilson. A party spokesperson said it's not a concern because the race won't really start until after the primary. Back to you.
Okay, Katie, at this time 4 years ago, all the Senate candidates combined had raised $6 million. This year, they're at $6.1 million, and that does not include what Balderas has raised over the last few months. Wilson and Heinrich have raised about $2.5 million each, and both have about $1.5 million to spend.